Mike, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for all the work that you have done. It is not easy being a county chair, and I want to thank you for all the outstanding work that you have done. So give Mike a great applause. You're one of the greatest members of Congress that has ever walked the halls. Let me tell you, folks, you're not going to fight. One of the greatest state senators ever served, Janet Howell. Give it up for Janet Howell. I see my great friend, Delegate Bob right there. Let's hear it for Bob. And we're in his district. Let's hear it for Patrick Hope. You know. Well, thank you, folks. I promised you a spirited campaign, and that's what we have. And I got to say, first of all, today was an exciting day. We are 100 days from Election Day. And most importantly, I'm proud to say that, as you probably know, we had a day of action throughout the Commonwealth. We had over 1,000 people today on the streets across the Commonwealth of Virginia, knocking on doors, signing folks up to vote. I also want to thank someone very special to me. She spent the day in Richmond and Chesterfield and other places today. She addressed 100 women today, had a great kickoff today. The next First Lady of the Commonwealth of Virginia, my wife, Dorothy McAuliffe. And two of the greatest running mates you could ever have to run out and take it. Let's hear it for Ralph Northam and the Mark Perry to may not. And we are a ticket. We're campaigning every week together. Can't say that on the other side. You don't say too much of them. Some are in the witness protection program. You don't want to say too much of the campaign track. But we are running as a ticket. And I also want you to know I'm very invested in the House of Delegates. And as you probably know, our campaign has made the largest single contribution and commitment in the history of anyone running for governor to make sure we pick up House delegate seats as well this year. Stakes of this election, and Mark and Ralph and of course Jim have talked about it, but I also want to first recognize that, you know, yesterday on July 26th was the 23rd anniversary of the American Disabilities Act, and let's hear it up for that great we've got some real big challenges. I'm excited about where we are, but then again I'm always excited, but I am excited. Listen, don't pay attention, we're up in the polls today, we're doing great, we got advertising going. We're opening up 35 field offices, and Ralph and Mark, we had last weekend, we were in Sterling and Loudon. We had so many people, you could not even get into our office openings, and it's going on throughout the Commonwealth. We're going to have 250 field organizers on the ground. This is unprecedented in a gubernatorial election. We are all in on this election because the stakes are so big for all of us. I think we all know that there are a few headwinds facing Virginia. The stimulus is over. We have $500 billion baked into the Department of Defense budget cuts, and more on the way. Sequester is here for the year, and I think Jim Moran will be the first to tell you on September 30, they're probably going to vote to take sequestration in for another year. Now that will have a dramatic impact on Virginia. Why? We are the #1 recipient of DOD funding. Now we'll always be #1, but the denominator is going to get smaller. So the challenges that we face, and the challenge we're going to face all of us statewide elected office, how do we replace those jobs that are going to be lost through the defense cuts? We need a governor that's going to get on that every single day, trying to figure out how we grow, how we diversify this economy, how do we become leaders in cybersecurity, nanosciences, biolife sciences. That's the challenge. And that's what I am focused on. That's why I'm running for governor. As most of you know, you've probably seen the television ads. I've been in business for 42 years. Started, invested in dozens of different companies in all walks of life. You want a governor who has seen the ups and downs in business, who has met payrolls, who is worried about payrolls, maybe mortgaged a home a couple times. We got Dorothy here. We don't do that anymore. But what's most important for all of us is we need to make sure Dorothy and I have lived in the same home in Northern Virginia for 21 years. We want our 5 children to stay here in Virginia. But in order for them to stay here, we got to have a growing, diversified economy. And in order to do that, we got to have everything working on full throttle. #1, transportation. And I'll be the first to tell you, I commend Governor McDowell for putting out that bipartisan plan. It was not an easy thing for him to do. 27 years, Virginia had gone without any more funding for transportation. We all know the issues in Northern Virginia. We're stuck in traffic 70 hours a year. We waste $1 billion stuck in traffic. Hampton Roads, 43 hours a year, stuck in traffic, a waste of $700 million. How do you bring new businesses in when you're stuck in traffic all day? Dorothy, 3 hours and 15 minutes this morning from McLean to Richmond. The same coming back. 95 is now a parking lot. We've got to deal with those challenges. It's not only about growth issues, it's quality of life issues. It shouldn't be an all-afternoon adventure to go see your kids play a ball game. But because of traffic, it is. When Dorothy and I moved out to Northern Virginia, on McLean, Route 7 was great. You could go on at any time of the day. Today, you don't go on Route 7 after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It is gridlocked. It can take an hour to go 3 miles. But now we have a bipartisan compromise bill. And the next governor is going to take the lead in making sure we're spending that money wisely. We got to focus on easing congestion, building economic development, and one thing's important to me, we need to make sure that there is local say in the projects that we do in transportation. You, at the local level in Arlington, should have a say about how we spend our transportation money. It's our ability to grow. Here in Hampton Roads, absolute gridlock. I go down once or twice a week. At least once a day, the HRBT tunnel is closed because of some accident. Miles backed up. Why is that important? Because we have so many military assets down there. Oceana, our naval base. They're not going to bring any more military assets to Virginia until we figure out this transportation problem. And we need to fix it to grow and diversify our economy. And let me be crystal clear. I was all in on that transportation bill, and my opponent tried to stop it at each and every turn against his own Republican governor, tried to stop transportation. The Silver Line, which now will go to Dulles Airport and then into Loudoun County. We're getting people out of cars and getting them into mass transportation, which is important. He said he would kill it, even after it was halfway completed. So he's against compromise. He's for shutting down projects that are half-built. That's not the kind of government we need in order to grow our economy. So transportation is so important. The other big issue I talk about, how to grow and diversify, you got to have an education system that works. Today, if you take average Virginian pay and compare it to average teacher pay, do you know where we rank in the United States of America? We are 50th. We are dead last. Virginia is one of the wealthiest states in the United States of America, folks. We should never be 50th in anything. And when I'm governor, we're going to make sure we pay our teachers what our teachers deserve. They're getting close to retirement. How are we filling that pipeline? We can't fill the pipeline when we're eroding their retirement benefits and we're not paying them what they're worth. I am proud to say, and my opponent attacks me constantly, that the Virginia Education Association has endorsed me. He called to a bunch of, I think it was union thugs or something like that when I went down and got their endorsement. Well, let me tell you folks, I am proud to accept the endorsement of the Virginia Education. We have to totally dismantle the SOLs as they exist today. They do not work in Virginia. We need a bureau commission to fix it. This idea of this high stakes, multiple choice test at the end of the year. First of all, why are we giving it at the end of the year when the teacher is done with the student? Why are we not doing it earlier in the year? So that if there's issues, to make sure we're preparing our students, the teacher can work with that student. Today in Virginia, a 5th grade teacher who gets a student teach reading at the 1st grade level. And by the end of that year, the students worked hard, the teachers worked hard, and that teacher gets that student up to reading at a 4th grade level. That's a success. Today with the SOLs, that teacher is deemed a failure. We need to change that. We got to make sure that we're letting teachers do what they do best. Let's let our teachers teach in the classroom. All these non-instructional workloads on our teachers. Let's get them back in the classroom to do what they do best. We've got to make sure we get our science, technology, engineering, and math earlier. And I couldn't agree more with Ralph. When I talk about K through 12, I talk about pre-K through 12 in early childhood development. We need to invest in that as a state because I don't view education as an expense. I view it as an investment. Getting that young mind early, thinking creatively, I've talked extensively about health care. Let me be very clear. Remember, the governor has to sign the budget. And I want to make perfectly clear, please do not send me a budget unless the Medicaid expansion is included in that budget. 400,000 Virginians access to quality, life-saving care. It's socially, morally the right thing to do, but let's talk about it from an economic perspective. The health care is now the law of the land. Over the next 10 years, Virginians will ship $26 billion to the federal government for health care. Why would we not, over the next 7 years, bring that $21 billion back to Virginia to roll through, turbocharge our economy? We can create up to 33,000 new jobs. And what's very important, everybody should realize, that if we don't accept the Medicaid expansion, our hospitals are going to incur upwards of $190 million in costs because beginning next year, the federal dish payments and other issues, they are going away. Today, disproportionate share, if you have a lot of low-income folks who go to the hospitals, they are now reimbursed. Beginning next year, that's going to change. So there's a cost to us not taking it. 29 governors have accepted it already, very conservative governors. My opponent is 100% for accepting the Medicaid exchange money. I want to use that money, bring it into Virginia, totally redo our healthcare delivery system to make it more efficient, productive for all our Virginia folks. This is how you grow an economy. So people say, well, you know, I voted last year for the president. I don't know if I need to come out. Well, let me tell you, we learned in 2008 when Barack Obama was the first Democrat to win Virginia in 44 years. A lot for the help of folks in this room, so I thank you for what you did. But then a year later, we had about a 30-point drop-off at the polls. And we know what happened. We know what happened to the House of Delegates. We're down to 32 Democrats in the House of Delegates. We can't do that again this year. We had another historic win last year. We need folks out. I'm for clean air, I'm for clean water, and I pray and hope, Jim, that at the federal level, let's get immigration reform done in the United States. You saw the debate last week. They had a good time with the debate last week. I made that point. In a bipartisan way, Delegate Alfonso Lopez and Delegate Tom Russ got the DREAM Act further than it ever gotten in Virginia history. And one of my goals as governor will be sitting at that desk signing the Virginia DREAM Act into law. It's been talked all night. There is a real stark difference in this year's election. We know that. But you cannot grow an economy when you put walls up around Virginia. Women are 50% of the workforce in the United States of America. For the first time now, over 40% of households, women are the sole breadwinner. That's an important statistic. So I want everybody in this room to know, and I want every single woman to understand this. I will be a brick wall, standing there as tough as can be, and I will veto any of this insane legislation that they try to push through. I will fight that veto. You know why? Because I trust women to make their own decisions about their own personal health care. So I talk about all these women in Silicon Valley whom they call our cyber warriors. We need to make sure that we're bringing folks to Virginia. We can't be suing the University of Virginia because we disagree with a scientist's climate message. Can you imagine such a thing? We need to be bringing professors in, scientists in. We need to be respecting women. It's important for what we need to do. And as Ralph mentioned on the personhood legislation, not only most forms of contraception, he would make the pill illegal in Virginia. You can't be an open, welcoming state when you refer to gay Virginians as soulless and self-destructive human beings. There is quite a difference between the two candidacies. And I was proud as soon as I announced for governor to be right out of the box. There was no issue with me. I was 100% supportive of marriage equality here. To go. We've been in this for 8 months. It looks good today, but listen, we know how tough this is going to be. We know what they always do on the other side. But let me tell you this, folks, I think most of you know this. I am one tough fighter. You punch me, I'm going to punch you back hard. I am in this for you, and I promise everybody in this room that when I am governor, if you help me these next 100 days, and you work your heart and soul out every single day, I promise you when I'm governor, and I'm going to have a busy 3 months, transportation, education reform, the Medicaid expansion, making sure I have until mid-March to make sure we stop the shutting down of these women's health centers. As you know, the first permit recently came up. This was led and bullied by my opponent. Norfolk, Virginia came up about a month ago. They have padlocked their doors. Many women use these facilities for cancer screening, affordable birth control. So I've got till mid-March. So as governor, I'm going to get right in and start to work to make sure I stop it so no more of these women's health centers shut down in Virginia. You have my word on that. But if you help me for the next 100 days, I promise you, I will work round the clock. As most of you know, I'm not a big sleeper. I don't believe in it. I always say sleep when you're dead. I think it's overrated. I will work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We will not take a rest. This is a defining moment for our party and our state. I know the stakes. I have to stop a 40-year jinx. Whoever wins the White House, the other party wins the governor's mansion. Well, we're going to stop it this year, folks, and we are going to have a sweep of our ticket. I mean, I'm going to be doing what I do as governor, traveling the globe, bringing businesses in, helping businesses grow. You're going to have Ralph in there day to day doing what he needs to do, when I'm doing what I'm doing, and Mark's going to be a great attorney general. We're going to pick up a bunch of House of Delegate seats. Then we're going to come back next year and make sure we can get some of those very important congressional seats back to help Jim Moran do what he needs to do to get the majority back in the United States Congress. Seats in 15 in the state Senate. 16, we're setting up the groundwork to make sure we win the White House again. Mark Warner's back in the United States Senate, and it's a long 10-year plan to get Virginia back where it needs to be, and it starts this year's election.